perspective, you have a big heating, you have a strong heating issue, and then you have a strong cooling issue, and those two things together actually can help make the economics look pretty good. 2 states passed this in January. We had 2 states pass it initially in 08. 16 states passed it in 2009, and then 10 more. It's actually 13 as of today are pending. So it is quickly becoming a national program. And of course what you'll see, and what Craig will talk about, is the great work that got done last session, and then of course there's some amendments needed now to make the sort of program come together in Illinois. And that's actually true of several of the states. That's not uncommon. We had it working on California. We actually amended it again last year just because we ran into some stuff that we needed to clarify. Sir?
Does the fiscal situation in California and the fiscal situation in Illinois play into this at all?
In terms of the ability to finance these programs, or in terms of the willingness to pass legislation?
Yes.
Willingness to pass legislation, no, appears to have no bearing. States that are doing okay are passing legislation. States that are teetering on the edge of bankruptcy are passing legislation. Speaking of California. As for the bonds, and Craig can talk about this a little bit too, in general, it depends how you structure the deal. And to some degree, the fact that the state or the local governments are struggling is not good for selling bonds. But you can set these up so that you kind of insulate yourself from that a little bit and still make it work pretty well. So sometimes called a shadowing effect or other things. For instance, California's budget woes have a shadowing effect on bonds that have nothing to do with the state of California's budget situation, which is because everyone's freaked out about what could happen in California over time with all the various revenues that are plummeting. The answer is, one of the nice things about it is it actually works even if you're having really tough economic times because of the way you can structure it. But it does mean it's harder to do now than it would have been a couple of years ago before the world came to a crashing halt. Craig, I don't know if you can get to your stuff, but that.
Thank you.
Okay, so all that excitement happened. That's great. All these states doing it. We actually have about 5 working programs in the country. So we have 16 states and all this stuff, but there's real opportunity still for incredible leadership here. What we need to, this program is still rolling out. I'm going to talk a little bit about some of the programs that are running and some that are coming. But just to point out that it's not like this is now well-trod territory. As it's moving quickly, but this is opportunity for places, local governments, communities actually come together and provide real leadership, and it needs to happen because what you need is the first program or 2 to get going in a state, and that paves the way for everybody else. But somebody's got to step up and do that work. Hopefully you guys, whoever. But the idea is we got to get going. On the national level, it didn't take very much. The Vice President, we've had a lot of help at the national level. We got tax codes changed to help PACE programs. We got EECBG money coming in that will work for PACE programs. Craig can talk about some of those things. You can do with development, energy efficiency, conservation block grants. They've put the competitive block grant applications have a bunch of PACE things that are happening. The Vice President got on his bully pulpit and talked a lot about it. There's a lot of work happening now around the potential of making the bonds tax exempt, about putting loan guarantees behind the bonds, a bunch of other things we can do. So this has been a tremendous amount. I used to work for the Department of Energy, and when they get involved in things, it wasn't always a good idea. But I would say that in this particular case, they've been fabulous, and they have been really thoughtful and approached this with a degree of interest and assistance that is remarkable. What came out with the Vice President, I got to go to the White House and sit there, and the Vice President makes this big announcement, and then they also released a policy framework for PACE. They basically said, we love this thing, but we're worried people will do it wrong, so here's a set of rules. I can send you the rules if you want. Craig's got the rules. But they said, here's the basic framework we want you to use. And I won't get into all the details of it, because it's starting to be a little wonky unless you guys decide you want to have a bunch of questions about it. But the idea is, let's protect lenders, let's protect consumers, let's make sure as these programs roll out that we don't have anything blow up. Let's make sure we're protecting folks. And so inside of that were property-based underwriting and project-based review rules. And I listed a couple of them up here on the slide. The goal here is, if you have a $100,000 house, you probably shouldn't get a $100,000 solar system and pay for it on lien. That might not be a good idea. And if you think that's crazy, at Sonoma, there was an application for like a $75,000 solar system on a $100,000 house. It was a tiny little corner property, actually. They were really upset when they got denied. The mortgage crisis. You want, if people are way underwater on their mortgage, they're more likely to walk away from the home or have other crises. And so you probably not want to, what the framework says is don't provide them a lien if you're way underwater. So you can do a positive equity test, you can do other things. They want to make sure, pretty basic stuff, you pay your taxes. If you're behind on your taxes, you should probably have a tax lien added that makes that worse. The other thing is to look at the projects themselves. A bunch of quality assurance and quality control measures, making sure that measures are reasonable. There's some basic cost effectiveness standards, or whether that's cash flow positive or net or positive over the lifetime or whatever. Let's find some rules so that people aren't getting essentially granite countertops, getting some really nice things that have no energy savings with this lien. They want to hide things that are really providing benefits to property owners, energy savings, and to make sure that you don't